Hello, my name is Anime Addiction, and welcome to another episode of Let's Analyze Death Battle. For today's episode, we'll be looking into the fight between the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers White Tigerzord and Gundam Wing's Gundam Epyon. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what's a death battle got to do with giant fighting robots? I mean, they can't really die. They can be destroyed, but they can also be rebuilt, right? Well, actually, the death battle is between their pilots, namely Tommy Oliver, better known as the White Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and Zex Marquise from the Gundam Wing series. Now then, normally, I am pretty much impartial to all these death battles, but in this case, I'm more of a fan of Gundam than I am of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. However, I will still try to keep this as objective as possible. Once again, if you haven't seen this episode yet, please go to screwattack.com or their channel on YouTube in order to see it first so you don't get spoiled. And as always, I'm going to let the stars of Death Battle, Boomstick and Wiz, give their pre-battle analysis and introduction for both combatants. So, let's get started, okay?
Evil. It has many faces, and sometimes even a good-natured soul may become its unknowing pawn.
Oh, did you say something? I couldn't hear you over giant fighting robots! Seriously, what's cooler than giant robots? Absolutely nothing.
The White Tigerzord, the 6th Thunder Zord.
And Epyon, the 6th Gundam. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. Behold the Thunder Zords, mighty bestial vehicles with a power and a force like you've never seen before.
Unless you live in Japan, then that shit's everywhere.
The Thunder Zords are piloted by the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans.
Teenagers.
For over a year, these 5 heroes defended the Earth from the evil Rita Repulsa and her cronies.
But when her boss, Lord Zed, showed up and started beating some serious Ranger ass, the team knew they needed some help.
Thus, a giant floating head in a tube and his robot buddy set to work building a new Ranger with a new Zord.
I present to you the White Ranger.
Tigerzord!
The White Tigerzord is a gigantic weaponized robo-kitty. While cats are clearly inferior to dogs, I might make an exception for this one and take it home.
Well, considering after it transforms to warrior mode, the Tigerzord weighs 150 tons and stands nearly 15 floors tall, I don't think you'll find one in a pet shop window.
And it's a transformer? Awesome.
The White Tigerzord is powered by the, quote, white light of goodness, as is its pilot, the heroic leader of the team, Tommy Oliver, the White Ranger.
He wasn't always in charge, though. His original powers came from the screeching, migraine-ridden she-witch Rita. Naturally, it was a trick, and those powers came packaged with a curse that turned him evil.
Luckily, Rita doesn't logic much, so the Rangers reverse the spell by destroying a completely unrelated object.
Tommy wields Saba, a talking saber that shoots lasers and remote controls the Tigerzord.
Hey, I thought you knew what you were doing.
I do.
Yeah, you sure could have fooled me.
And is also uniquely multilingual.
That's right. None of you speaks bird. Now take me over to the cages. Squawk, squawk, tweet, squawk, tweet.
Everyone that just watched that is now dumber. Or bad.
In battle, the Tigerzord's tail doubles as a golden tiger sword.
Which can light itself on fire, I assume by sparking a robo-fart of some sort. See, Wiz? I can science too. Anyway, the Tigerzord knocks foes off their feet with sonic blasts. temporarily increases agility with hyperspeed, and shoots fireballs from its chest-mouth thing.
White Tiger Thunderbolt, armed and ready!
The Tigerzord's greatest asset, however, is its ability to mimic the movements of its pilot. So it's important to determine how superhuman the White Ranger is, but he doesn't have many measurable feats. Fortunately, all Ranger powers are derived from the same morphing grid, a galaxy-spanning energy field which balances all life.
So, the Force.
Yeah, pretty much. This means all Rangers have comparable powers that we can use to measure Tommy's potential.
SPD Green Ranger Bridge Carson once lifted and threw a 2-ton car at this poor girl, who he guessed was a demon. Luckily, he was right, and a PR catastrophe was avoided.
The average man can squat lift about 125 pounds, so this feat makes Power Rangers at least 32 times stronger.
Oh, that was most impressive.
And we know Rangers also receive a speed boost, so it's reasonable to believe that a Morph Ranger's reaction speed is in the ballpark of 32 times faster than the average person. Thus, the White Ranger can actually react to attacks in about 6 milliseconds. To compare, in the same given time, a bullet fired from a gun would have only traveled about 9 feet. As the Tigerzord mimics the White Ranger in real time, it must be capable of the same speeds.
I bet he could totally do that knife finger stabby game. Actually, Wiz, put your hand on the table.
No, not after last time. That poor intern.
I told him not to move.
Anyway, like that intern, the Tigerzord can't always cut it on its own.
When that happens, Tommy's friends usually come in to save his ass. But even though they won't be able to help him today, Tommy can still call upon his secret weapon.
Each Power Ranger has his or her individual Zord, which only they can pilot. However, there have been numerous instances when a Ranger has called upon other Zords. So, Tommy can call upon the Lion, Griffin, Unicorn, and Phoenix Thunderzords to create the Mega Tigerzord.
The Mega Tigerzord is a massive monster of a mech. It's got an energy shield, an energy ball attack, and a wicked dropkick. Oh, and its finishing move is literally lighting a giant robo-bird on fire and shooting it through everyone in its path. Obviously, the Mega Tigerzord has never lost a match.
The Mega Tigerzord is so powerful, it's even had that finisher move reflected back at it, survived, and all it did was fall over and look surprised.
But it's not all firebirds and rainbows. Enough damage can overload the Tigerzord's connection to the Morphin Grid and annihilate it. But don't get me wrong, this is one ass-kicking, mighty morphin, fire-birding, flame-sorting power kitty. Meow.
Saba, are you ready, pal?
White Ranger, I'm ready when you are.
All right, Tigerzord, power up!
In the year 195 AC, yes AC, Earth and its space colonies were on the brink of civil war. Chaos had erupted, governments shattered from within. The only constant were 5 freedom-fighting mobile suits called Gundams.
Piloted by a bunch of kids who have no idea how to have fun. Seriously, get laid or something.
Intrigued, the disgraced Commander Trey's Kushranada set about creating his own Gundam.
For sex?
No, for Zex.
This is getting really confusing.
Try and keep up. Trey's hoped this new non-sexual fighting machine would finally answer the meaning of life and death.
And birth!
No!
I have a guide here that will show you how to live from now on.
And so the Gundam Epyon was born.
Do you think you've built a god or something? Maybe I do.
Epyon is a fierce force of metal and badassery. Like all Gundams, it's armored with Gundanium.
Yet another stupidly named fictional metal that happens to be many times stronger and lighter than titanium.
Standing 57 feet tall and weighing just under 10 tons, Epyon is actually quite a bit smaller than your average Japanese giant robot.
But for what it lacks in size, Epyon compensates with incredible speed. With a max propulsion of nearly 200,000 pounds, Epyon can fly over 250 miles per hour.
But manning a Gundam at that speed is rough, and can kill a pilot who hasn't been trained.
Epyon's pilot is the legendary warrior and Treize's closest friend, Zex Marquise, the Lightning Count. Commander of the Oz Special Forces, valedictorian of a prestigious military academy, and sole pilot of the unstable Gundam prototype.
How does the Wizard of Oz come into this now? Anime seriously confuses me. Well, regardless, Zex is a true warrior.
I am a true soldier.
Oh, look, an Echo!
Despite this, he could not handle the politics of war. After Treize staged a coup which spiraled out of control, Zex stumbled through the ensuing chaos like a lost pup, always ending up fighting for the wrong cause by complete accident. Whoops.
I don't understand. Why am I still so spineless?
Oh, I have an awesome giant Gundam that everyone needs to do awesome stuff! Poor me!
But plot twist, Zex has been hiding a secret identity. He is, in fact, Milliardo Peacecraft, the long-lost heir to the throne of the pacifist Sank Kingdom. Yes, the Peacecrafts literally craft peace.
At first, the only one who knew Zex's true identity was his slap-happy admirer, Noin. You'd think a cheerful girlfriend who doesn't have blood on her hands would help Zex lighten up a bit, but...
Don't go getting too attached or parting will hurt.
But my soldiers aren't ever gonna be killed in battle.
Damn, he won't be hitting that for a while.
Despite being a backstabbing, coup-staging terrorist, Treize Kushinada apparently has some high sense of honor, and this is reflected in Epyon's arsenal.
Aside from two tiny Vulcan guns, Epyon was designed as a dueling suit and lacks effective long-range weaponry. But that's okay, cause check out this sword! The beam sword is connected directly to Epyon's power source, which means its size and power can be increased on the fly. Epyon also has a durable shield which houses a chain whip called the Heat Rod that can be superheated to slice through armor.
But its greatest and most risky weapon is its onboard computer, the Epyon system, a modified zoning and emotional range omitted system. This directly links with the pilot's brain and aids him by constantly predicting outcomes and strategies in mid-battle. And unlike other Zero systems, this modified version shows Zex his opponent's face as he's murdering them.
Oh, that's right, for the nightmares.
It gets worse. The Epyon system relies on Zex ignoring all distractions, including his own drive to win. It predicts every possible outcome of the battle at hand and shares them with him. These include the outcomes where he loses, which take the forms of hallucinations. If Zex can't separate fact from fiction, these hallucinations may become reality.
But despite the danger, it's totally worth getting into Epyon's pilot seat, cause this giant robot is a born winner. It's capable of holding off 4 other Gundams at once, survived the heart of an exploding space station, and destroyed another giant space station with a single awesome sword slice. Haha! Gundam powers, away!
Of course, Epyon does have its fair share of weaknesses, and even though Zex eventually overcame his turn to the dark side, nearly sacrificing his life for the greater good in the process, he never did quite become that perfect soldier he always wanted to be.
But good news, he did eventually get in Noin's pants. Worth it!
Just watch me, I'm gonna live right to the bitter end. I'll live the hard life of a warrior.
Alright, the combatants are set. Let's end this debate once and for all.
It's time for a death battle! Robo-style!
As always, Boomstick and Wizard did a fantastic job on introducing and giving us the pre-battle analysis for both combatants, and I have to say I'm a little surprised that they gave Tommy Oliver, aka the White Ranger, so much more than what was expected. I thought he was just going to fight with just his white Tigerzord, but it looks like they're going to give him a little more. But we'll get into that in a few moments. Now, first of all, you are probably wondering what my pre-battle analysis is for both combatants, so here it is. Let's start with the white Tigerzord. Now, already I can see the advantage that the White Tigerzord has over the Gundam Epyon, being 3 times larger and most likely 3 times as heavy and has greater strength. And what's more, Tommy Oliver, aka the White Ranger, is no stranger to combat, either physically or by piloting his Zord. Now, what makes it even more interesting is the fact that the Zord is able to follow and mimic his every movement, and considering that he has quite extensive martial arts skills, that could give the White Tigerzord an extra advantage in close quarters combat. Now, in addition to its variable arsenal, it seems that this particular death battle will allow the White Tigerzord to combine with the other Zords in order to form the Mega Tigerzord, which is 4 times as tall as the Gundam Epyon and most likely has 4 times as much firepower. Now you're probably wondering, well, doesn't this violate the second rule of death battle, meaning no outside help? Well, technically speaking, if Tommy's partners, the other Power Rangers, were piloting those Zords with him, then yes, it would be a complete violation of the rule. However, as stated in the pre-death battle analysis, he can call upon those other Zords without having to rely on his partners or team to pilot them. So, in this case, it can simply be seen as part of the arsenal of the Tigerzord. So, in this case, I suppose they will allow for that. And finally, we have to consider the pilot of the Tigerzord himself, the White Ranger, formerly the Green Ranger, Tommy Oliver. Now, he brings to the battle both the ability to pilot his Tigerzord with his martial arts skills, and he also seems to have some extra support in that talking saber of his, Saba. Now, again, one might ask, doesn't that still violate the second rule of death battle, since Saba is giving him advice and whatnot? And he's not supposed to have any outside help? Well, think about it. Saba is needed to control and pilot the White Tigerzord. He is an integral part of the mech, and therefore he is considered mostly as equipment. So therefore, he would be allowed as well. Now, as to whether or not Tommy will be able to defeat Zex Marquis and the Gundam Epyon, it all depends on whether or not he will be able to handle the battle tactics and the powers of the Gundam Epyon, in which we will now be discussing. Now, the Gundam Epyon, next to the Gundam Wing Zero, happens to be the most dangerous mobile suit in the Gundam Wing series, not only to its enemies, but also to its pilot itself. And even though it is only about 1/3 of the Tigerzord and only 1/4 the size of the Mega Tigerzord, it more than makes up for that deficiency in both speed and close range firepower, especially with its heat rod and its beam saber, which is directly connected to its own power core. As a result, it is able to cut through virtually anything it encounters, and thanks to its Epyon system, which happens to be a modified Zero system, it is able to calculate and anticipate various situations, and that can prove to be the difference in this battle against the Tigerzord. Now, as for Epyon's pilot, Zex Marquis, also known as Miliardo Peacecraft, he is Also, no stranger to combat, both in military affairs and also especially in mobile suit combat. He knows how to handle mobile suits. He is one of the best in the Gundam Wing series. In fact, he had almost defeated the main protagonist, Hiro Yui, on a couple of occasions. And furthermore, unlike Tommy Oliver, he has far more experience in dealing with larger opponents and also insurmountable odds, and he's been able to overcome them with nearly no problem at all, actually. And in the end, I'm thinking that particular experience is what's going to make the difference in this death battle. Now, as for who I think is going to win in this death battle, it's more of a question of the pilots rather than the giant robots they are controlling. After all, they are the heart of the robots. They are the ones who will be using their weapons and using whatever tactics they can and the full abilities of their machines in order to defeat his opponent. And in this case, I would have to give the win to Zechs Marquise and the Gundam Epyon. Even though the Gundam is smaller than the Tigerzord and seems to have less firepower, I am thinking that because of Zechs Marquise's own ability and his special unique talents with the Gundam Epyon is going to overcome that of Tommy Oliver, who seems to rely mostly on the brute force and strength of his Tigerzord and his physical ability rather than on strategy in the long run. So let's see if I'm right and start out this death battle. So, Boomsink and Wiz, let's have us a Robo Rumble.
All right, Saba. Time for a weekly test run.
Excellent. Let's test the weapon systems.
Just make sure the safety systems are on.
Safety systems activated. That will probably dissipate, right?
Zechs? What are you doing down there?
Hello, Nine. Just brooding over how I nearly destroyed the Earth.
That again? You've gotta lighten up, you grump. Well, how about we do that thing you're always asking about? You know, the one that rhymes with your name.
What? Really?
Of course. I think it's finally time.
No!
Eventually.
I think I'll drive.
Warning! Bogey approaching fast! 200 meters!
Must be one of Zechs.
0 meters!
Huh? I'll break your face! Is it just me, or do Zed's goons keep getting smaller and angrier? Forward! Whoa, he's quick for a little guy.
Stop messing around and start defending!
Right, time for action!
White Tiger,
Alright, Saba, I want the Tigerzord to follow my every move! Hi-ya! Hi-ya!
You may be skilled, but you're too slow for Epyon.
How's this? Hyperspeed! Time to stamp out some evil! What, are you playing hard to get? Alright then. Go long! White Tiger Thunderbolt! Fire!
The Epyon system indicates that you've shown your full arsenal. You're finished! What? What's that?
Quick, Tommy! There's circle on his chest! It must be a weak spot!
Right.
Don't get cocky.
What? He didn't explode?
Well, this defies all logic!
We're grounded!
Tommy, call the Zords!
You got it! I need Tigerzord power, now!
Oh shit.
No, not like this!
Here it comes.
Routing all power to thrusters! And now to the beam saber! No! No! Son of a bitch!
Ow! My childhood!
This was a surprisingly close call. At first glance, the Tigerzord towers over Epyon and is fast enough to keep up with it. Yet Epyon destroyed Barge, a 26,000-foot-long space fortress, with one sword swing. Just one. There's no doubt that a few swings like that were enough to overload Tigerzord's connection to the morphing grid.
I mean, this goofy-looking skeleton dude did it, so I imagine a giant laser sword wielded by a devil robot could do it too.
Also, Zex is a far more experienced and properly trained warrior, unlike Tommy, who was drafted in the middle of high school. But the Tigerzord wasn't helpless. Its megaform even duped the Epyon system for a moment. But unfortunately for our favorite White Ranger, Epyon is an ever-evolving dueling machine.
Stupid future-predicting robot, and it's really fucking sweet sword. Gun damn it!
The winner is the Gundam Epyon.
Now that was a great giant mech battle, and I must say there were times in which I thought the Epyon wasn't going to make it, but in the end Gundam Epyon and its pilot, Zex Marquise, triumphed over Tommy Oliver and the Tigerzord. And unfortunately, it looks like the Power Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, will need a new leader. Maybe they'll go back to Jason and the Red Ranger again. But in this case here, we're going to now look at some of the details of this battle and perhaps a few arguments as to whether or not Zex Marquise deserved that win over the Tigerzord. Now, the first argument is fairly obvious, considering that the Tigerzord was much larger and supposedly stronger than the Gundam Epyon. The question is, why wasn't the Epyon smashed to pieces by the Tigerzord, especially by the Mega Tigerzord, after all that pounding, and it still managed to hold together? Well, you do remember what Wiz and Boomstick said about what the Gundam Epyon was made from, right?
Epyon is a fierce force of metal and badassery. Like all Gundams, it's armored with Gundanium.
Yet another stupidly named fictional metal that happens to be many times stronger and lighter than titanium.
Now you're probably wondering what the heck is Gundanium. Well, according to official sources, Gundanium is a unique compound which can only be produced in the zero-gravity conditions of space. In addition to its incredible strength, which is several times the strength and heat resistance of titanium, Gundanium alloy is electrically non-conductive and cannot be detected by radar. However, this material is expensive and is difficult to manufacture, making it unfeasible for mass production. In other words, this metal is so tough and so hard to make that only certain machines can ever be created. Therefore, a Gundam is extremely tough to destroy in the Gundam Wing series. So therefore, by that reasoning by itself, it should stand to logic that the Gundam Epyon would be able to withstand several blows by the Tigerzord and the Mega Tigerzord. Now, another argument is the fact that Zex was able to anticipate the appearance of the Mega Tigerzord and avoid its attack. And fans are arguing that the Epyon system shouldn't have been able to allow him to do that. Well, you do remember back to what they said about the Epyon system, right?
But its greatest and most risky weapon is its onboard computer, the Epyon system, a modified zoning and emotional range omitted system. This directly links with the pilot's brain and aids him by constantly predicting outcomes and strategies in mid-battle. And unlike other Zero systems, this modified version shows Zex his opponent's face as he's murdering them.
Oh, that's right, for the nightmares.
It gets worse. The Epyon system relies on Zex ignoring all distractions, including his own drive to win. It predicts every possible outcome of the battle at hand and shares them with him. These include the outcomes where he loses, which take the forms of hallucinations. If Zex can't separate fact from fiction, these hallucinations may become reality.
That's right. The Zero system, or the Epyon system in this case, can predict the future. In other words, it was able to give Zex Marquise an image of the Mega Tigerzord, even though it wasn't very detailed, but it was able to predict from its scans of the Tigerzord of what it was capable of doing, and therefore it gave Zex Marquise an idea of how to avoid a future attack and his defeat in the form of a hallucination. Now, one of the biggest arguments is the fact that the pre-battle analysis stated that Power Rangers had 32 times the strength and speed of a normal human being. Now, as such, that would mean that Tommy, being a Power Ranger with his martial arts, should have been able to defeat Zex due to the fact that his Tigerzord mimicked his every move and therefore moved just as fast. Well, there is a counter-argument to all this, and it was clearly stated in the Gundam Wing series.
Which would win if they were to fight against each other?
Naturally, the one with the better pilot would win.
Who are you kidding?
So the race to determine the superiority of the mobile suits is meaningless since their value is directly dependent on the ability of the pilot.
And that is the biggest reason, aside from the beam saber of the Gundam Epyon, that Zex was able to beat Tommy Oliver. It is because of the ability as a pilot, not a martial artist, but as a pilot, and how to use his Gundam or mobiles or giant Tigerzord to the best of their ability. It is the strategy. It is the ability to work the strengths of your machine around the weaknesses of your opponent. Zex Marquis had that ability. He could use the Epyon system and the beam sword and all the other attributes of the Epyon to their fullest. And as for Tommy Oliver, he may be a good martial artist, but in comparison to Zex's piloting skills, he was severely lacking. Zex could use his military training in order to overcome his opponent, and as for Tommy Oliver, he relied on the advice of a sword that speaks bird.
Hey, I thought you knew what you were doing.
I do.
Yeah, you sure could have fooled me.
And is also uniquely multilingual.
That's right. None of you speaks bird. Take me over to the cages. Squawk, squawk, tweet, squawk, tweet.
Everyone that just watched that is now dumber. Or bad.
Quick, Tommy! They circle on his chest! It must be a weak spot!
Right.
Don't get cocky.
What? He didn't explode?
Well, this defies all logic!
Now, unfortunately for the White Ranger, I have to agree with the results and post-battle analysis of this death battle. Tommy Oliver, you're a great Power Ranger. There's no doubt about that, and you're probably one of the best, if not the best, Power Ranger. However, in comparison to Zex Marquis, I'm afraid that you should stick to fighting giant monsters, and if you come up against a Gundam, run far away, because there is really no way you could win other than the fact that you are going to need the help of the rest of your team in order to overwhelm Zex Marquis and the Gundam Epyon. However, it was a good death battle, and you did put up a pretty good fight. I'll give you that much here. And in the end, even though Zex Marquis won, it was more or less a bittersweet win, since Noin got killed in the battle, and that was the reason why he had to fight in the first place, to get revenge. But in any case here, the battle between Epyon and Tigerzord was quite well done, and I must admit, it surprised me at some points as well. In any case, I do hope that all you viewers enjoyed this little pre-battle analysis, and be sure to continue subscribing and supporting Death Battle and ScrewAttack.com. They really do give us some very entertaining battles between our favorite characters, and even though some of our favorite characters may die in the process, as I said in the beginning of every one of my videos, please don't take it personally. It's just for fun. Until then, I thank you for taking the time to view this reaction video, and I'll see you later.